But if you're running a 4:35-hour race, then that's fine. You can wear those shoes, but it would harm you more rather than probably giving you those benefits.
Oh, this is like walking on clouds.
Absolutely.
But you don't want to be walking on clouds.
Oh, absolutely.
You want to be landing stably.
And this completely flips in the consumer's perception.
Correct,
This is
correct.
a premium product.
Yeah.
Shoe is not something which keeps a runner injury-free. It's just
Right.
their overall consistency to run,
Yeah.
their strength training, their mobility is all which is important.
But there is enough research out there
Yeah.
where they've done the running efficiency comparison on plated versus non-plated shoes, and there is a benefit.
Yeah.
But the point is that benefit is pretty minuscule.
Carbon category.
Right.
Globally, it won't be more than 2 to 3%. But every brand has to have an offering of at least
Copy,
3-4 of these shoes. Otherwise, they'll not be taken seriously.
Most runners don't struggle because of a lack of effort. They struggle because of too many choices. Carbon plates, max cushion, daily trainers, super shoes. Every brand is telling you something different. And somewhere in all of that, it becomes hard to answer one simple question. What shoe is actually right for me? Today, we are going to change that. This isn't just another shoe review. This is about understanding what really matters, how different shoes actually feel, and how to choose based on your running, not the hype. Whether you're just starting out, training for your first marathon, or pushing into longer distances, by the end of this conversation, you'll know exactly what to look for, and more importantly, what to ignore. Let's get into it. Today's guest is someone who truly represents the spirit of endurance, not just in sport, but in life. Gaurav Pant is a corporate leader, endurance athlete, and certified marathon coach who has completed 100 plus half marathons, 15 plus full marathons, multiple ultra races, and even a 24-hour stadium run covering 167 kilometers. From leading India operations at GMAC to mentoring runners and building communities, his journey shows how discipline, consistency, and courage connect leadership and endurance sports. Dhruv Verma, aka The Runnerd, is an avid marathoner and a self-proclaimed nerd. He's run over 15 marathons, including 6 world marathon majors. Known for his detailed posts journaling his runs, he's equally known for nerding out about running shoes and gear. By day, he's a corporate professional across product, marketing, and biz dev with a background in mechanical engineering and an MBA. He's also building Run Cred as a passion project with fellow runners to bring race results into one credible, unified place. Sajid Shamim is an XLRI Jamshedpur MBA graduate who built his corporate journey with global brands like Coca-Cola, Reebok, and Adidas, eventually serving as brand director for Reebok South Asia. After 14 years in the corporate world, he transitioned into entrepreneurship and has spent the last 13 years building startups and supporting the startup ecosystem. Beyond business, he's passionate about football and running, bringing the same competitive spirit from sport into leadership and life. Let's dive into his mind and his experience running these international brands and how they connect with the conversation today. So welcome guys, GP, Dhruv, Sajid, to this very exciting conversation that I've personally been actually waiting for a long time, because it's about one of our favorite subjects, which is, I think, also a weak point for most of us, the perfect ideal running shoe, and how to find that and how to identify it and how to make sure that it works for me. And I'm speaking like a runner right now. All of you are pros and can't wait to dive in and hear your amazing perspectives from tech, from coaching perspective, from business perspective, that all of you bring to this very exciting and rich panel. Thank you for being here, and let's roll.
Thank you for having us over.
So honored, and let's just get running into this. If someone picks up a running shoe for the first time, what are 2-3 things that should immediately pay attention to? And I'll ask this question for each one of you, so we can just put in our insights onto that. So GP, starting with you.
Yeah, so for me, if anybody wants to just buy the first shoe or just start running, they've started. Shoe is probably something, it should be very basic shoe, right?
Right.
A shoe which should give them some stability
Yeah.
because these days you look at a lot of every kind of shoes in the market. So I suggest a basic running shoe, not too costly, but it should give them stability. And it also depends upon their biomechanics, right? How they run, how their body weight is, right? So if somebody is heavy, should not buy a shoe which is very, very cushiony, right? Then the impact is different. So a shoe which is stable, not very cushiony, but yes, a decent kind of shoe. That's what I recommend
Perfect.
everybody.
So stability is
the
a
key
very
for me.
a very big factor for you.
Yeah.
Dhruv.
Two things here. One, I just want to touch upon stability, because I think people confuse a stable shoe with a stability shoe.
Right.
The stability shoe is a very different shoe.
Right.
It's made for people who overpronate.
Right.
So when your foot turns too far inwards, and
Yeah.
so it's correcting your form for
Yeah.
a specific
Correct.
type of form
Correct.
which might cause an issue. So if you're a beginner, don't go out there and try to buy a stability shoe like a gel Kiano or something like that.
Correct.
You want to buy a stable shoe, which is absolutely spot on.
Absolutely.
The advice that I give to anyone who asks me about this is to go look for a daily trainer.
Right.
So go into the store, ask for a daily trainer. Because people go in, they get enamored by all of these fancy shoes and the ones that they've seen the pros
Very good
wear,
looking, colorful,
Exactly.
top of the line models and
when you put it on, they feel really plush.
Yes.
They feel very comfortable.
Absolutely.
And they're like, oh, this is like walking on clouds.
absolutely.
But you don't want to be walking on clouds.
Oh, absolutely.
You want to be landing stably. You don't want it to be wobbly and things like that. So
Correct.
any good daily trainer should be good. There should be a level of comfort, because when you're starting out, everything is going to be a little bit uncomfortable. So it should be comfortable enough to, help you kind of endure through that discomfort.
Correct.
To some extent, it shouldn't be the reason that you stop. So
Stability.
yeah.
Sajid.
So I think it completely depends on the runner.
Right.
And depending on what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to attempt. A recreational runner will look at this proposition in a very different way versus people who are doing 20-30 kilometers already. And I think the basic thing which people should understand is every foot is unique.
Right.
And I always recommend that try multiple shoes. I know our stores and all are not facilitated to the extent where they have possibly, some brands tried in the past of putting a treadmill inside the store and letting actually people, that is the only way out of this.
Right.
Because every foot is so unique, and we have done years and years of research during my days in Reebok, Adidas, and brands very frankly are helpless. And a lot of time we blame the brands, but they are trying to mass produce a technology product.
Right.
Right. So it is, you have to keep choosing in this,
Correct.
whether a high stack works for you, a low stack
Correct.
works for you, whether
Correct.
carbon works for you. So it is very unique, I would say.
Correct.
And as we go along in this program also, we'll be discussing more shoes.
Correct.
And we'll have
Correct. Absolutely.
more time on that.
Great. So, Gaurav, coming to you from a coaching point of view, and you've been a coach for a fairly long time, and you're a community builder, and you interact with runners like me almost on daily basis, and you understand the nuances quite deeply. So, what matters most to keep a runner injury free?
So, frankly, I would say shoe is not something which keeps a runner injury free. It is their overall consistency to run, their strength training, their mobility is all which is important. This is the last thing that a runner needs, right? So they have to be consistent, have a structured training, right? Do all these activities like a regime. And then shoe is fine. Look, you wear any shoe and it should be good.
Right.
All this carbon shoes, non-carbon shoes, daily trainers, right, or heel drop is a little later kind of a thing. For me, it's important that you have to show up, be consistent. Don't just jump on your mileages here and there. Just gradual progress. Anything like you build a business gradually. If you try to build it very fast, you will fall, right? Similar, a runner growth story has to be slow and sure.
So no need of getting into the jargon very early in the journey. Is what I'm hearing. What you're saying.
That's perfectly. You were right, but today, what you see is completely different.
Correct.
If somebody wants to start running, they say, "Juta kaun sa lena hai? Which shoe I should buy?" Right?
That's the first thing.
Forget about it, boss. You have to come and show up, right, and wear your normal shoe which you have been wearing, right?
Yes,
It's not
yes.
that you are not wearing any of
Yes,
these shoes.
yes.
Come in that, run for 4 weeks or 8
correct.
weeks, and then decide which shoe is what you should
And that's
wear.
such a big departure from, when we were in school, they used to say that running is the simplest sport to get into. All you have to do is to just wear your, lace
You
up
used
your
to use
shoes,
the canvas shoes,
and you
right?
start running,
You were
right?
very good, happy with that.
From those days to now, yeah.
And like,
Yeah, nothing was there. You were running very fast.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
that's my
So Gaurav,
thought.
what's the most common mistake you see people make while they are buying shoes?
Everybody just looks at elites, and today social media, somebody
Right.
wearing colorful shoes,
Right.
there's carbon plate, right? First thing you probably, if I go in any race or somewhere, I observe a lot of people, I see the running form,
Right.
and I say, okay, fine. But then when I go down, then there is a carbon shoe where the foot is completely
Correct.
pronated,
Correct.
and you are running,
Correct.
and it's no disrespect to anybody. I believe they don't have the knowledge, and they don't want to speak to some runners who have already gone
Correct.
through all this stage of life.
Right.
It's just that they start and there's nobody to guide them.
Yeah.
So
So, also for the more evolved runners, for example, the marathoners and the ultra marathoners, and you being one of, very, very seasoned ultra marathoner, in that category, what really becomes non-negotiable? Because the training cadence is very different in that.
So frankly, if you are a speed runner, and with all respect to all kind of speed runners, if you are running a race which is maybe a sub 4, a marathon, or maybe even less, then is where your carbon shoes come into
Correct.
picture. But if you're running a 4:35-hour race, then that's fine. You can wear those shoes, but it will harm you more rather than probably giving you those benefits, right? Because these shoes are unstable. So I typically tell them, right, for example, Super Blast, right? It's an awesome any kind run shoe.
It's a
Whether
long
you
run
want
shoe.
to run a 5 kilometer or
Absolutely.
100 kilometer,
Yeah.
that shoe will help you in all kinds of run.
Correct.
So that's what probably I tell people, that go for a shoe which is stable for you.
Right.
And stable
Right.
means that your foot should be stable. You should not get
Right.
tired. You should have enough toe box space that you can continue on and on, right? The fit is very important of this shoe. What people typically miss, because as you get tired, right? All hot spots in the foot comes into picture,
Correct.
right? And that's where
Correct.
they have to look at, right?
Yeah.
Their toe box should be fine, their shoe fit should be fine. Probably a half or one size bigger shoe is what typically
Right.
any runner should pick up, because your foot swells up during long runs.
Correct.
So that's more or
Yeah,
less is the advice that I give people.
And especially for the longer distances, for ultra marathons, for example, whenever I've trained for longer runs, this going up by half or one size has worked so well, because usually we are a little worried that it might slip at the back, so the size should be just about right, or just a little bit bigger. But I've realized that even going up a full size above has worked very well in your longer training runs. So it's a very, very important point.
As you get tired, right? So you need that comfort with the foot, right?
Correct.
Your foot should be stable while running, right?
yeah.
If you look at very cushiony or a plushy shoe, then those wobbling happens, right? And that's where you turn, twist.
True. So, Dhruv, you were...
No, I was just saying that I think you want to err on the side of bigger rather than smaller.
Correct.
And that's a mistake that I see a lot of beginners start to make.
Yes.
Even when my wife wanted to buy shoes,
Right.
she would always say, no, this is too loose.
Right.
And it took me a while to get her to say, no, this is the right size. It's supposed to have
Correct.
a little room
Yeah.
for your foot to expand and things like that. So I think we're all used to this idea of just a very snug shoe.
Yeah.
But that's not what you want for distance run.
Correct, absolutely. And Sajid, from your experience in the retail industry, such a deep background you have, one thing I have to mention, that most of the international brands, whether it's Nike in India or Adidas or Asics, nobody brings half sizes to the country. So I don't have an option but going up one full size above, which works in the models where the toe is narrow, but if the toe is also broad, and then I'm going up a full size above, then there is a bit of a problem with that.
So yes, this has been a bane of this industry now for a long time, especially in retail stores. You won't find it at
Correct.
all. And brands, it's the managing the SKU complexity.
Right.
Right. The moment you bring half sizes, suddenly suppose you're holding say 10 SKUs, that becomes 20 then.
Right.
And that is something that they're trying to address, because retail space is expensive in India.
Right.
If you see in comparison to your earning potential and your GDP versus your retail cost in India, we are almost comparable to the Western world.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And that is the reason space, to maximize and economize space, is what this issue is. But nowadays on your e-commerce side, for example, Nike, I remember there are lots of models now that half sizes are available. So yes, you guys should, switch over to those e-commerce sites, because fit at the end of it is very important.
Absolutely. So staying on this, Dhruv, when you try a new shoe, what do you notice in the first few kilometers? Because we all know that first few kilometers and the final few kilometers are very different in terms of how a shoe feels. So what are the early signs?
Yeah, so I look at it from two perspectives. One is being a mechanical engineer, I think a little bit more in the technical aspect, but I think of it from compliance and resilience, which translates to cushion and energy return.
Right.
So cushion is just how much it compresses.
Right.
And that's important because depending on the type of shoe it is, I may want it to be cushioned, I may not want it to be cushioned.
Right.
Because cushioned also means like unstable.
Correct.
Most times.
Exactly.
And energy return or resilience is basically how much it springs back.
Bounces back.
How much it bounces back.
Yeah.
So if it's a speed shoe, if it's a race shoe, if it's something like that, then I want it to give me a lot of energy return. And so I think of it from comfort, and those two perspectives is what I'm looking at.
Right. And we'll come to that, because I have a point to make on Evo SL on that, which we will, through the conversation on the bounce part of it, we'll talk about. So what makes a shoe feel fast versus comfortable for you? Since you spoke about the bounce, which is fast.
I think what's really interesting, what's happened in the last 5-10 years in the industry is that line has been blurred.
Right.
The new foams that have come out, they're comfortable and fast.
Right.
So what started with the Nike Zoom X, with the braking 2, with Kipchoge, they came up with that Zoom X foam and pushed the whole industry towards this side. It's both compliant and resilient. So it's cushioned, soft, but it also returns most of the energy that you put into it.
Right.
But I personally like those firmer shoes, like the Brooks Hyperion Max, which was the old one without the plate.
Correct.
It's a slightly firmer feel, but you feel that bounciness.
I think it's also a matter of personal preferences. Like for example, I am somehow not very comfortable with this extra cushiony, and because I feel that you kind of dig deeper into, and therefore the effort which is required at every step to bounce off is a little higher, right? So it's anti-pace, in that sense. So I guess it's a matter of personal.
I think it depends on the foam.
Yes.
So if you take like a gel Nimbus from Asics, that is going to compress and it's not going to give you much back. Same thing for a New Balance 1080 or something like that.
Correct.
Versus if you pick up the Nike Invincible, which is now the Vomero, that's a Zoom X foam. It will bounce back. Even the Evo SL. It compresses, but it also gives you a lot of energy return. So that's where the innovation has been interesting.
Yes.
In the last few years, but I agree with you that because ultimately now my muscles have to add that stability.
Adapt to that.
Because
adapt.
Adapt. So there's all the small muscles.
It's a new biomechanic which has gotten developed in that, and my muscles have to adapt. And if I have 5 shoes in the rotation, so then it has to adapt to each one of them.
But that's actually supposed to be good.
That's supposed to be a good thing, absolutely.
Transfer different, put the strain on different muscles.
So Dhruv, on that point, when you look at a shoe and when you're making a buying decision, what are some of the technical details which are absolutely must go for you, which have to be there before you take a call that this is a shoe for me?
I don't think I have a must do, because I love all kinds of shoes.
Right.
I think my wife is sick and tired of my addiction to buying shoes.
She's going to love this episode, and I'll make sure that she's plugged into this.
No, but I've made
I think it's a very good addiction.
Good for your business.
Absolutely.
No, but I've now made a rule where I donate a shoe every time I buy a shoe, because I don't use the life of the shoe. So, but that's the only way I'm able to keep
buying new ones.
Absolutely.
But I think what I look for from a technical perspective, I'm looking at technical details like stack height. Depending on the type of shoe, I may want a high stack or a low stack shoe. The drop, which defines how aggressive I can get with it.
Right.
Of course, things like what kind of foam, how soft is it, and what type of shoe is it again? Does it have a plate? If it doesn't have a plate, and then I can get a little bit more nerdy about whether the tongue is gusseted, what kind of upper is it, because those are the details that give me an idea of how it might feel on my foot.
Right.
Having gone through so many shoes, I kind of have an idea of what will feel like. I don't necessarily have a preference of one versus the other. Ultimately, every shoe, you have to figure out what you're going to use it for. So I have a few different shoes in my rotation. I have a daily trainer, I have a speed shoe, I have a long run shoe, and I have a race shoe.
Right.
And then there are some shoes which sit in the middle and kind of do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So.
And it depends on what color you're wearing that day. It matches with that.
I'm a little less concerned about that. Like, I'm one of those people where I don't care much about the color. That's the last consideration. Like, you could give me the ugliest color. If it's the shoe that I want, I will buy it because I'm more about the feel of it than.
So Sajid, that goes into consumer research. So this is a persona.
This is the perfect consumer research. What he's saying.
Correct.
Elite runners, they are more focused on form and structure rather than color.
This has been compared to an elite.
And most of us here are absolutely non-elites because that happens to be amongst at least the top 3 buying decision choices for us. The colors are very, very important. So Sajid, when brands are launching, a new shoe in the range, what are some of the key things that they are trying to improve? And this is, slightly at a macro level, I'm asking. Of course, each model has refinements which go up, right, when the new version comes out. But broadly, what are some of the trends which are coming up?
Broadly, as I said, it all starts from some consumer pain point. That's where the thinking starts, that a brand is trying to solve. It starts from that. And then essentially they play around those 3-4 structures, which is what we're talking about. Whether it's about stability or whether it's about speed. So they try to build on all those 3-4 pillars.
Right.
And that is how all innovations we see has happened in the last 10, 15, 20 years.
Right.
So it starts from a genuine perspective. Yes, and at times beyond that, some marketing jargon and lingos do creep in, and we should be blamed and we are responsible for that. But the core need, there has to be a genuine consumer need from which innovation starts.
So in fact, I was just going to add on, how much of that is actually real innovation and how much of that is really good storytelling?
So in terms of, it just depends who you're asking the question. Some people will say, almost like it's 50-50, and some people will say genuine innovation is only 20%, right?
Right.
And 80% is storytelling. But understand that brands are also under immense pressure. Once a trend starts, for example, say the carbon trend, right? Suppose once a Nike Vaporfly started the trend, others have to catch on. Because if you are not attacking your spire, which is the pinnacle, I'm just coming from a pure business perspective here, then you are not taken seriously, irrespective of what you mentioned. You mentioned that the ASICS shoe, which doesn't have carbon and is possibly the best shoe, I agree with you. Right. But ASICS had no option but to come with, say, something like I think their carbon shoe is Meta Sky or something, right? They had to come with it and they had to
complete the
thing. So to get back your point, storytelling is very, very important in this a perception thing, and we will be talking, for example, say Puma keeps on struggling on the perception bit. And brands actually do not have an option but to follow those trends.
Right, correct. So, Gaurav, coming back to you, we just spoke about what should a beginner be actually looking for in their first shoe. So now, how does some of that change for, let's say, somebody who's doing their half marathon versus a full marathoner? What are some things which absolutely must be then considered for the, when you're transitioning to a full marathon?
I would say there's nothing as a must that they have to do. So what they are wearing, it's good for their run. But typically in today's world, everybody looks for a little more bouncy shoes, right?
Correct.
Little more cushiony shoes that they have. So that's where people come, like which shoe is the next shoe for them. And then probably I would say a daily trainer for a beginner is where they should just look into. They're all kind of daily trainers now, right? A little bouncy ones also are there, or a regular ones also there. Initially they should graduate. And then they should, I'm not saying no to any carbon shoes here. It's their choice, they can wear. But they should go for, as you said, probably a Evo SL is something maybe they look at, or probably this this is a Pro, this is not the shoe. These kind of shoes that they can go as a next, or a Nova Blast 5 is where they can look at if they graduate.
Correct.
And that's what I probably tell them, that look, don't push. And
so non-carbon is what I'm hearing.
Non-carbon
is what I'm hearing.
Non-carbon is perfectly
All the
fine.
models.
If they have a pronation issue, then
right.
I would still say that don't go for probably a GT. It's a very good shoe. I've been using that shoe from series 1 right till 12. I have all the models of that series. It's a very good shoe for long runs or any run, right? Or a Brooks Glycerine GTS is what they have. They're lovely shoes for any 21 or even a 42 if somebody is just wanting to do a run. It's perfectly good shoes for them to do.
But Gaurav, so much of effort the brands are making in this carbon shoe, and you just trash that category.
This is the true coach speak. And in this case, on the table is the coach and the trainee who got actually injured thanks to carbon, and then was helped with the advice of actually moving to glycerin, which was at that point in time one of the most stable, broad-foot shoe. And actually it did help. And at least that ankle part, which had gotten triggered by Nike Alpha, has resolved. So to your point, there is some truth. There is some truth, and which is right there on this table.
Yeah, and as I said,
if I'm not mistaken, Alpha is the most expensive shoe.
It is in the Nike. In the Nike,
Alpha is almost double of. That's.
Now each of these carbon plates are plus minus 2,000-3,000 right? So it's similar, right? So if you find something in 15-16, then let us know. If you find
I think you have the Puma Nitro Elite. I think. That's
the Elite version is 20 odd.
Okay, I think
the regular version is Nitro is with D8 Nitro is it has a plate but not a complete.
Not a D8 I'm talking.
And what about the runners who keep getting injured? And somewhere, there are phases when all of us have been through that, right? So one injury got triggered and then it took a long time. Then we again started training for something rigorously, again got injured. And, so if somebody is in that state, so glycerin was magic for me, for example. That's like one thumbs up from me straight away. Yeah. What are some of the other models that fall in the same category?
Look, from an injury perspective, runners get into injury not because of shoes, right? Maybe but because of their lack of training or a structured way, all right? Then they don't train, right? But if somebody is using a very cushiony or unstable shoe, then they have to move towards stable shoe. Stable shoe, I mean, a Nova Blast could be a good trainer, right? Or from India, because today you will not find too much of Brooks and Saucony in India, right? Because some restrictions.
That's another supply issue that's been going on.
Right? So, but A6 perspective, Super Blast, number 1 shoe, right? Nova Blast, go for it, right?
Right.
Or a GT, go for it, right? 2000 is a great shoe.
Correct.
They have come up with some very high cost shoes also, Mega Blast and all that. I would not recommend to spend so much.
Yeah.
My suggestion to people is, or probably New Balance has great shoes, right? This is a new shoe which is not too much talked about in India. They have good stability shoe. I have not stability.
We have
doesn't
the
mean
A6 right here.
Support.
I think that's
this is
your shoe
the
as well, right? Tokyo.
This is a carbon plated shoe.
Right.
Not these ones. So.
Correct. No, absolutely. So for me, my hands down is actually Brooks. When it comes to, when I'm in a slightly vulnerable state recovering or something, then by default, I end up going back to Brooks again.
Brooks is one of those shoes that don't necessarily look the best.
Yes.
They don't have as many color options. There are different color options, color scales and all of that, but the shoes are so great that they've kind of made their own space within their, with that kind of aesthetic.
Absolutely.
And with this export thing, ASIC is taking the complete advantage of all that, right? Because people don't trust whether they're buying the right shoe or a duplicate shoe or a first copy.
Correct.
So they go to a brand. I believe New Balance and Puma, I believe the Velocity is a stability shoe or a Nike Structure. Nike Structure is a very good shoe. It's just that it got lost in
the. I think the expanse of their range is also too much. In terms of models, and only a few models, 3-4 models are better known. So you end up reaching out to them every time.
But even within that,
there are so many good ones. Pegasus has correct,
absolutely.
It's
like people are so confused.
There's subcategories within the main category.
Everybody's trying to give a cushiony feel or a high stack to the shoe.
Correct. So Dhruv, what do the experienced runners start noticing that the beginners don't now that you are in that, so like let's say if somebody who's just starting out would wear the same shoe, so maybe we'll just notice the cushion. It's very nice, it's very comfortable.
Right.
But what are some of the things that you would notice once you're trying the same shoe? And which maybe we should keep an eye out to if we can understand those.
I think it's just more of the same. You just get better at noticing the small, subtle nuances. It's not something brand new that I would notice that someone else might not notice. Everybody notices how soft it feels. Everybody notices how stable their foot feels.
Correct.
Everybody notices how snug or how the fit feels of the upper and how bouncy it feels, how much energy return you get. I think it's just with experience you start to appreciate it a little bit more and start to see the nuances, start to be a little bit more sensitive towards all of those things.
Right.
It's very similar to any other field.
Yeah.
It's whether it's food or coffee or running or anything, the more you do it, you start to notice the little things.
So there are no hidden spices.
There's nothing new magical that I'm experiencing that I didn't experience or that a beginner won't experience.
Right.
I might just be a little bit more sensitive to it.
Yeah.
Having gone through so many shoes and so many miles.
So is the standard fit, stability, and energy return and
cushion and comfort.
Cushion. That's about. So that's broadly, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's
three, four pillars that you're able to. You should be actually looking out for.
Right.
And even if one of them is amiss, then you should kind of recalibrate.
For distance running, it's like you don't know what's going to start bothering you for a marathoner at that 20th mile or 32nd kilometer.
Yes. And that's happened with me, although it was more because the socks and not the shoe. Now that's another chapter.
Because ultimately running is a repetitive motion.
Yes.
And it's a high impact repetitive motion. So anything that you're doing gets magnified and amplified by thousands of steps. So.
Oh, absolutely. So Sajid, coming to you on this, and we spoke about brands building features and refining features and, great storytelling and all of that. But when a brand is really building new models, so then how do you guys decide which segment to prioritize? So I assume it's a business call depending on what's really this thing. But now, like Dhruv said, within the category, there are so many subcategories, and subcategories also have their own subcategories now. So how do you know which segment to really pick and then create a brand new shoe for that?
So in this, typically in terms of it starts with consumer and market research,
right?
And essentially numbers dictate the whole proposition.
Yeah.
So as we were discussing before we started talking, for example, say Hoka started this whole high stack game.
Right.
Other brands had no option but to pursue that.
Right.
But that's a reactive move.
Correct.
But at the core, suppose say Nike or when they start planning the process, they look at the numbers and they say, okay, now this is what we want to make. But where the brands have to build in more complexity into the process is because your elite runners are chasing a different category.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas below that, you have 3 other levels of category with the recreational runner sitting way below that.
Right.
Okay. And that is what the brands are trying to address. So you see the complexity essentially happens because you are trying to address the whole of the gamut. Now, for example, this carbon category, globally it won't be more than 2 to 3%. But every brand has to have an offering of at least 3/4 of these shoes, otherwise they'll not be taken seriously. So in our brand language, what is taught to us is who's your preferred consumer, right? For example, you 3 are preferred consumers for a sports brand. Right. So even if you don't get business with them, they would like you to be part of them because you guys define what is happening for the rest of the runner stack, which is below you guys.
Correct.
So that is where the reason is, so much of complexity comes into the process.
Yeah.
And trust me, if you give a recreational runner like me to run in a carbon shoe, it'll be a disaster.
Interesting data point I picked up was it's just 2 to 3%. And in terms of noise volume, carbon would be 70%, right?
Yeah.
You, for any brand or any store, you walk into, the first thing that's actually just thrown at you is the carbon models, right? They are, of course, the most expensive, but they are supposed to be this magical solution for everything that your running needs, right? And it's still just 2 to 3%. Wow, that's a very interesting data point there, right? So now sticking to Dhruv, to the carbon shoes, do they actually make you faster, or do they just make you feel faster? It's a very important distinction.
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah, you feel invincible the moment you wear them.
There's enough, there's a placebo effect of feeling like, and that has good merit in itself as well.
Correct.
If on race day I feel
so
like
much money we are spending, and you're saying it's a placebo.
No, I'm saying like even if it's placebo and if it's making me feel,
it's making me feel good.
If it makes me feel confident enough to go out there and push,
correct,
knowing that I'm getting this extra return, and I see a lot of runners who will run so much stronger the day because I'm wearing the carbon shoes today.
Right. And that extra boost of confidence.
Exactly.
For that.
But there is enough research out there where they've done the running efficiency comparison on plated versus non-plated shoes, and there is a benefit.
Yeah.
But the point is that benefit is pretty minuscule.
And for a regular runner, especially.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you look at the Nike Vaporfly, which started it was 4%. That was the extent of it. 4% efficiency gain, which doesn't necessarily translate into 4% faster times.
Yeah.
It's just saying that you're consuming 4% less energy to maintain the same pace and distance.
So incidentally, Vaporfly was the model. That was the culprit. I was doing my Pro-Cam Slam that year, and all the 4 races I had done in the same model because that was my race shoe for that year, right? And by the end of it, after TMM was my last, and after that, then my ankle just folded completely. So Vaporfly was precisely the model, since you mentioned. So I don't know 4% efficiency happened or not. I don't know about that. But my next 12 months, inefficiency definitely crept in because of that.
Yeah, no, it is a challenge. I think the first time I ran in a Vaporfly, the first race I ran, and the reason I wore it was because it was the first time I was trying to go sub 4.
Yeah.
And I came out of that race with my ankle hurting, which was the first time that happened.
Correct.
Luckily, it hasn't happened again because I worked a lot on strengthening muscles and everything. But it is a challenge. And there is a gain, but it comes at a cost.
Correct.
Like we were discussing before we started shooting, that the cost is not just financial.
Correct.
There's a biological cost to it as well.
Exactly.
Which might come in the form of an injury or strain, or basically your body's also having to do something to compensate for the additional
effort,
pace that's an effort.
I think these shoes should come with a caveat that you strength train for at least a couple of months before you actually get into that and try to adapt. That's my personal recommendation.
No, so I would say typically what happens if you are training for a marathon, right, in your regular shoes, no carbon plated, and you say, okay, I will run at a pace of 5:30. Right? Yeah. And maybe that's the pace I would try. If you wear a carbon shoe, you will get to 5:20, but then what happens? People try to catch up to a 5:15 kind of a 5:10 pace, right? This is where the game changes, right? If you feel that 5:30 I was doing comfortably in my non-carbon plated, I would say just go to 5:20, right? Don't try to do a 5 or a 4:55, and that's where everything changes because your body gets tired, the shoe is unstable, then you are in for a problem. And I have seen so many people who say, okay, I am trained, I will do a 4:30, but then when they wear a carbon shoe, then 4:15 they see a 4:15, but they end up finishing at 4:40 or 4:45 because that's where they lose the track.
So that's what Dhruv said. It's the feel.
It's
the feel that makes you feel invincible in them, right? The early spot, right? And
it comes down to how
exactly.
You go with it.
So from 4:15 to 4:50.
So that's
in the latter half.
Typically, that's what happens. Because you try to run the first half fast, so you have energy. The shoe will give you that, right? And not saying shoe will not. Shoe will give you all that benefit, but it is not a long-term sustainable. Absolutely. Your muscle will cramp or your body will not be trained for that, right?
Now this is where it gets interesting. Everything we've discussed sounds logical until you step into the real world of carbon plates, max cushion, and marketing claims. Let's challenge some of these beliefs.